Welcome to this special episode of the Consistency Corner podcast, where we're going to talk about when is it okay to be inconsistent. And your champion of consistency, your consistency cheerleader here is going to tell you about when it's okay to not be consistent. And I'm going to share a story about some of the pivots and shifts that have been happening behind the scenes in my business and what that means for our next chapter and going into 2025. So, before we get into all of that, I want to set the scene for why I believe consistency is so important and literally like why my business's name is the Consistency Corner. If you're new here or we've connected recently, my business actually started out as health and fitness coaching. And I realized a little while into that I was going to make a shift. And 10 episodes into the podcast, made a shift from health and fitness coaching into marketing. I was working in marketing for a retailer in corporate marketing. I was a marketing director, and I just kind of had this light bulb moment, this aha. And when I made that shift, the content poured out of me. Like it was just meant to be. And what I realized in creating a lot of content is there's so much similarity between health and fitness and marketing in that it's a long game. You've got to be consistent. There are many, many pieces and parts that contribute to your overall success. It's not ever just one thing. So, long story short, I left my corporate job in the spring of 2022 and went out on my own to start the Consistency Corner as a marketing agency. And I, at the time, left my job because my son was in kindergarten. We were really, really struggling with school. He had to change schools and we no longer had aftercare. And in that moment, I went to my boss and said, "Hey, I now have to leave every day at 2:00 to pick up my son." I decided before that conversation that if my boss said no, I was going to say, "Well, I don't work here anymore." And that was the beginning. That was the beginning of that shift because I knew that my family needed me and no job was more important than that. And I didn't work in a really remote friendly culture. So I, had that conversation with my boss. We tried it for a little while and it just wasn't working. And so ultimately I resigned and decided to bet on myself and go all in on the Consistency Corner. And I could have easily just been a freelancer. I could have picked up jobs on Upwork or different platforms. I could have even started looking for another job. So why did I feel this kind of calling to grow a business into an agency? Well, at the end of the day, I knew that I had never found the supportive workplace that I was really looking for because I was meant to create it. And I was meant to create it not only for myself, but for other women. Because when I became a mom, now 9 years ago, I had this like intense purpose, calling, feeling that the reason that I was here was to help working moms. I didn't know what that looked like. Like I said, we did health and fitness coaching. I've done direct sales. I have done network marketing. I tried blogging, and then now marketing coaching or marketing agency. So it was like, okay, you've always had this calling. You didn't really know what that meant, what you were supposed to do with it, or how you were supposed to achieve it. But now here we are in this moment. You're leaving your job. You're starting a business. You're starting an agency. So I started the Consistency Corner. You landed a couple of clients, was helping them with social media marketing, but always had this really gut feeling that like social media alone is not a strategy. If you listen to the podcast, I say that all the time that social media is a container, just like a coffee cup is a container. It's not coffee. So social media is one container for your message. And, early in 2024, I pivoted the business and tried to do some rebranding and really went after full service marketing and CMO level strategy. And it wasn't resonating. It wasn't working for me. And so I did a lot of digging, a lot of soul searching, had a lot of conversations with a lot of people and decided to go back to social media only. Now that doesn't mean I can't help clients with other things. I do help some of my existing clients with other things, but we're building our packages and our offers around social media first and really narrowing in to that lane. We're going deep versus going wide in our services. And it was like, okay, this feels good. I rewrote the website copy. I created a service guide. I created some new packages and I threw it out there. But I also knew that I needed to choose a niche. Because listen, when you're talking to one person, nobody's listening. And your girl was talking to too many people and nobody was listening. And I knew it, but I couldn't land on who the niche was. And there for a while, I thought, okay, it's going to be product-based businesses. I hosted my Christmas in July workshop in July. I did a whole masterclass on gift guide strategy for product-based businesses. I took my, 5 years of corporate experience helping a retailer go from $20 million to $65 million and put that into a framework to help brands, and knew that I could help product-based businesses and retailers with social media. But something didn't feel right. I just kept feeling this resistance when talking about who I served. And something wasn't clicking. It wasn't aligned, right? And I was having a conversation with a friend and said to her, I think what it is at the end of the day, I don't want to contribute to the overconsumption of everything and the massive amount of content that product-based brands unfortunately have to pump out to be relevant in the market. It's not sustainable and the consumption is not sustainable. And at the end of the day, what I really want is I just want to help brands who help moms. And she was like, then Ruthie, just say that. Hello, light bulb moment. But I really, took that and reflected on it and thought yeah, that's the thing. I don't care if you're a service provider. I don't care if you're a coach. I don't care if you're a consultant. I don't care if you're a product-based business. If your business helps moms, I want to help you. If as a founder, you believe in fair play and disrupting the patriarchy and conscious capitalism, you are my people, and I want to amplify your message and help you help more moms through, strategic social media marketing. So that's where we are today. And so with that light bulb moment, aha, all the things clicking into place, it just feels for me so much more aligned than it has over the past, several months, if not year or more. And so I see all the things that have kind of been swirling and I've needed to work on that, now I can see how they all fall into place and things are clicking. And, I'm rewriting some copy on my website, reworking some of the foundational pieces of my brand in terms of mission, vision, values, voice, visual guide, all the things to really pull this mission together and call in those aligned ideal clients. So what does that mean about consistency? So with the podcast, I realized over the summer, after taking a hiatus and doing some kind of older episodes pulled in, some guest episodes, publishing some guest only episodes for several weeks, that right now, the podcast unfortunately doesn't have a place in my marketing strategy because I've got other things to work on. I've got to work on branding. I've got to work on messaging. I've got to work on copy. I need to work on connecting with humans face to face or screen to screen and getting my message out there for who I want to help so that I can meet those founders and those business leaders that, lead brands that serve moms. And so the podcast became a to-do that just didn't feel like the right thing to do right now. But I love doing the podcast. I actually love having guests on and having conversations with them. I love teaching through voice and talking. That is my content style is talking. So what we're doing with the podcast now is I'm not shutting it down. This is the last episode ever, but we're going to be inconsistent with our content. And that means when I have something that I want to talk about, I have something to say, something that I think can really serve my audience, I'll record an episode. And then like I always do for my clients, we can repurpose that content into tons of social media content, but I'm not putting the pressure on myself to show up consistently week in and week out when it's not serving me or my business in this season. So sometimes it's okay to be inconsistent. But we have to look at how does that inconsistency impact the results we're looking for. how does that impact our business goals? For me, the podcast was not serving my business goals. And so it made sense to take a step back. And I'll still use it for certain things, but it's not like a weekly episode was giving me an ROI. So we're going to do things differently and we're going to do things inconsistently. So, what does that mean for the Consistency Corner podcast? It means you're going to see episodes pop up here and there. It means that I might even rebrand the podcast and relaunch it in 2025 when I have more of a handle on the brand messaging and the things that I want to say and the way that I want to serve my audience. And it means that I'm pivoting and shifting my energy elsewhere, which is why I'm really, really excited to announce our seasonal social media mixer, which is a workshop style networking group for founders of brands that serve moms. Our first one is going to be on November 15th. And what it is it's a 90-minute mini workshop. I'm going to just take 10, 15 minutes to talk to you about seasonal social media trends, tools, and tactics that are working right now that don't take up all of your time, because I know you don't have time as a CEO to be a constant content creator. But then really, we're going to have the opportunity to be in the room with other founders of brands that serve moms so that we can learn how we can help each other. We can learn and connect with people whose messages deserve to be amplified because they're doing work and doing things that help moms. And why is it so important that we help moms? Because moms are the ones who are going to change the world. I truly believe that moms are raising the next generation. They're the ones that are doing the work on honestly reparenting themselves and learning and healing. And they need support. They need time. They need space, which, like I said, when I decided I wanted to start an agency, it was so that I could employ other women and give them that flexible, supportive work environment where they could do work they love, but also have the capacity to care for their families and care for themselves. So that's what we're doing at the Consistency Corner. And I'd love to hear about what your brand is doing in terms of how you serve moms and what your mission is and help you amplify it. So the link is in the show notes to join us for our seasonal social media mixer. We'll do one of these every quarter. And, this one is right going into the holidays. So we'll probably have some fun holiday themed elements to it, but we'll do one in the spring, one for back to school, and one going into the summer as well. So stay tuned for all that. And I'd love to hear from you. Pop over to Instagram, send me a DM, let me know what you're up to in your business. I'm cheering you on. And if you've had any pivots or shifts or aha light bulb moments recently, I'd love to hear about them and know how I can support you and be in your corner.